Good morning. It's Tuesday, February 17th, 2015. This is Tech Talk Today, episode 134, and I got to be honest with you. For those of you in the United States of America on the East Coast, I know it's a winter blast over there. Here on the West Coast, we have like this ocean stream thing that keeps us warm. It's ridiculous because we've got these mountains combined with like warm water and it's just like perfect over here. I'm sorry. I don't mean to rub it in, but I have the window open in the studio and I'm probably going to go take a walk in a t-shirt after this episode. But I totally am. I feel for you that are stuck in the snow. So we are here today. We are here despite the fantastic weather, despite the amazing weather, to make content for you, for those of you stuck in the snow. And we want your snow pictures. Angie's going to be in studio tomorrow and Tech Talk today, and I'd love to show her some of your snow pictures. So if you want to submit them to the subreddit, just upload them to Imager, and then link them in techtalktoday.reddit.com. I'd love to see your snow, because I'm a little snow jelly. Speaking of folks who probably have snow, let's bring in the Mumble Room to help us go through the big news stories today. Time-appropriate greetings, Mumble Room.
Snow.
Hello.
Greetings.
Hello.
Flip side of that coin for us in the Pacific Northwest, impending drought.
Yeah, looks familiar. Says like, oh, it's hover over here. Yeah, that's true. So, it looks familiar though. Says it's horrible in the UK too. So I guess we're just like we're gonna have a drought, I guess. Hey, so let's start with a story that I'm still parsing. I'll probably have a full report on Wednesday's Unfilter. And there's a lot of people that are already trying to debunk this. There's a lot of claims being made, but I'm going to go with two stories that I'm going to combine into one from The Verge and one from Ars Technica. It looks like someone, and likely the NSA, has been hiding some sort of monitoring malware inside the firmware of hard drives. The NSA may be hiding payloads in the firmware of consumer hard drives, according to a new report from Kaspersky Labs. The report tracks, now remember Kaspersky Labs, you probably heard of Kaspersky Antivirus. If you're not a regular TechSnap listener, Kaspersky has sort of established themselves as one of the very reputable security research firms. They are a Russian company. So, of course, there would be a particular advantage to blaming something like this on the NSA. But in terms of the cybersecurity industry, oh boy, isn't that a fun one? Yeah, legitimately, Kaspersky has a good name. The report tracks the group that researchers have dubbed Equation, which uses previously undiscovered methods to plant targeted malware in hard drive firmware where it's difficult to detect or even remove. Obviously, the operating system would be totally unaware of it. The report found exploits for hard drives made by many of the largest brands in the industry, including Samsung, Western Digital, Seagate, Maxtor, Toshiba, and Hitachi. The group is closely tied to Stuxnet. That's why they believe, again, it may be the U.S. or perhaps the NSA, using many overlapping vulnerabilities and techniques over the same time period. And those similarities, combined with previously published NSA hard drive exploits, have led many to speculate that Encounter may have been part of the NSA. Now, Ars Technica has a really, really, really great write-up that we have linked in the show notes. They go into some more of the history. The Equation Group is what Kaspersky Labs calling them, and they have found the hotspots of where this malware has been targeted. So if you're watching the video version of Tech Talk Today right now, you'll see a map. If you're listening, it's linked in the Ars Technica show notes link, and you can see that it's very much the East, right? Very little deployments in the United States, some in South America, but very much the north area of Africa. Iran is the highest infection area, followed by the Russian Federation, Pakistan, Afghanistan, India, China, Syria, and Mali. All areas on the top of the United States wish list, I would say. Medium, Lebanon, Yemen, which we are hearing a lot about in the news right now. United Arab Emirates, obviously a very key interest there. Kenya, the United Kingdom, Libya, Mexico, Qatar, and Egypt, following up on the medium infections. Bottom of the list is France. Let's see. Iraq's actually fairly low, too. I guess we feel like we got a pretty good handle on that situation. Brazil, Switzerland's pretty low. Singapore, the Philippines, and obviously the United States. So firmware-based malware sounds almost unbelievable.
I don't get why it's needed.
Total access, total information control. That's the NSA's mandate, right?
And efficiency, guys. Efficiency. You can now deploy times and times again every time that you need that hard drive.
And actually, let's appreciate for a moment the raw efficiency of what appears to be either the same group or multiple groups within the federal government sharing a exploit base. So they've obviously established internally a system in which they are all aware of zero-day exploits and they can share code components amongst each other. And I'm piecing this together also from other reports of other state-built malware where there's shared code from individual components, and it appears to be some high degree of collaboration between the folks finding finding out about the 0 days, disseminating that amongst the development groups, and then the development groups appropriately, instead of rewriting their own code in each group, sharing components as needed, as these articles have pulled out. Oh, go ahead.
I think they hired so many of the former quote unquote hackers that they now have all the skills on. Okay, let's build a rootkit instead of being fighting with this every time again.
Here's another couple of interesting things. It looks like the group may have been able to compromise iOS and OS X devices, and the control servers may have actually been Macs. They have more than 300 internet domains and 100 servers to host the sprawling command and control infrastructure. USB-based stick-based reconnaissance malware to map air-gapped networks, which are so sensitive they aren't connected to the internet. Boy, I'm going to love tearing that part down in TechSnap. Both Stuxnet and the related firmware malware platform also had the ability to bridge air gaps. We've talked about that in TechSnap, and it's amazing the technology they can combine. It's so genius. It is really brilliant work. Part of me, it's gross, and the fact that there could be malware in my firmware is disgusting to me. At the same time, from a technology standpoint, when you follow this stuff close enough, it is truly amazing work that they are doing. And the way they orchestrate everything together, it's really kind of incredible. So they say that an unusual, if not truly novel way of bypassing code signing restrictions in modern versions of Windows, so that way they could implant the firmware on a drive that's already active in a machine, right? Because some people are assuming they're intercepting these drives in transit at time of manufacturing, but they're actually able to use 0 days in Windows to flash the drives that are in operation, and they can bypass third-party signing by interfacing with the operating system kernel. And of course, that's all ready to go. To circumvent that, the Equation Group malware exploited a known vulnerability in an already signed driver. So once they use an already signed driver for clone CD, the kernel's like, okay, well, I'm good. I know myself is good. I'm signed. I know this clone CD driver is signed, and that's what you're using. Okay, you get kernel-level code execution. Once you have kernel-level code execution, well, you know what that gets you. Taken together, it really is an amazing set of work. And they show with technical skill and resources, they rival the groups that develop Stuxnet and the Flame espionage malware. Flame is another one where we got a lot of interesting insights into how they develop this stuff and share code. Any thoughts?
Yeah, and I just like actually to have a thing that said that Kaspersky has in the past released about malware about Russia and China. So I would say that Kaspersky, if not just because their reputation is solely on the line for it,
yeah.
They are just as, multi-corporation, multinational as Sony or
I think they're legitimate. Yeah, I do too. I think they are legitimate because honestly, when it comes to Kaspersky Labs, I don't care where they're based because so far the proof has been in the pudding every single time they've published something. And we've covered every major report that they've done for the last 2 years, and they've all been totally legit. And I'm looking right now at they've put out the high-level report right here in a PDF, which I'll have linked in the show notes. And this is it's super solid. I mean, they're putting their work right here for people to go over, right out in the public. Amazing. And it also not too surprising that they could have firmware level control like that.
Yeah.
All right. So let's talk.
It seems like it'd be pretty hard to bypass that since it's be firmware based. A regular format won't get rid of it.
Right.
Yeah, it pretty much they take over the boot process. They inject the things and I think because we also remember bad USB. That's also sort of where you could replace the firmware on a USB, the controller firmware on the USB storage, and have malware that would then infect every machine you plugged it into and it'd be undetectable because it'd be on that firmware. And you can't have an antivirus scan the controller firmware of a USB thumbstick. But what I think we all kind of already know, what the elephant in the room is, if it's a consumer level electronics device, it's exploited. If it's consumer grade, it's already owned. That's now the society that we live in. And if you want something not owned, it has to be special purpose built to be secured against that. It has to be, and it also probably means it's going to have trade-offs in online services or functionality. All of these compromises we've come to expect. Or it's going to be specifically designed for military operation or something like that. I think this is what we have to be realistic about. And there is an add-on to this as well. Like if you look really at the report, they're showing that the actual majority is indeed consumer. So other or unknown, because they actually classify the types of infection, if it's diplomatic or not, on the report. And it's mostly other or unknown, which I would assume it falls under the quote-unquote user.
Yeah. Yeah, fascinating. Good catch. So we'll have probably more information in other shows as we digest this and maybe find out more. And we'll have links if you want to do your own reading in the show notes. Let's talk about something ridiculous. I just to kind of shake off any kind of negativity from that one. So from time to time on the Tech Talk Today show, I want to just call out when the mainstream press is really stupid drunk, when they are just obviously trolling for clicks. This story blew up over the weekend. And it started, I believe, over at Business Insider, and then the Wall Street Journal picked it up, and it is time for us to do a little rumor cleaning. So there has been reports swirling. Now PC Mag is running this one that Apple is building an entire car. Apple is going to build an all-electric entire car. Come on.
Yeah, this started on the rumor mill, and suddenly every major news network is picking it up. What? I even saw this on Facebook.
I'm going to translate. They are buying a couple prototypes because they want to do testing and whatever the technology they are trying to implement. But looking at the previous strategy of Apple on the car industry, it's mostly like having that Apple time inside of the car, not necessarily having an iCar, right?
Why are people trying to paint Apple as an innovator? They don't really innovate on anything. They just copy.
Right, they take and refine something, and going back to the iPod.
That can be innovation.
It can,
but we're not even discussing that. I'd say that it's like, okay, are they really making a car, or are they, fancying a car?
You've nailed it, Daredevil. And this is why I get so frustrated with the mainstream tech press, because it's so lazy. So it's all based off of fundamentally what it comes down to is a couple of hires that Apple has made recently, the people that are from Tesla and people that are from automated cars, like people that came from automated cars. Well, there is so many things Apple could be doing with that talent besides building an entire car. You have to know how to build a car before you can sell a car, first of all. But just think about this. They have a maps program. Perhaps they want to have a fleet of vehicles to go around and get Street View stuff. Maybe they want cars for that. Maybe they're going to continue to build out their CarPlay system that works with iOS. Maybe they want to have some stuff for that. Like, it's so many. That's why just let's stop talking about this. I'm going to move on. We don't need to spend any more time on it. It just is an example of how lazy and how they just write about anything. And I just wanted to get on my soapbox for a minute because that was like the main story all weekend, and I was watching that going, if that's the top story by the time I do the show, I'm going to be mad. I guess I'm still a little mad. All right, and then one more thing. Speaking of Apple has pre-ordered more than 5 million watches, according to the Wall Street Journal, for the initial run. So they think their first one's going to sell, and rumors are the base watch will start at $350, and the super crazy gold one may go past $5,000. 5 million watches starting at $350. Last chance to make a prediction, guys. Anybody think it's going to be a flop?
I think actually if they sell these correctly and people that buy it actually get satisfied, they might have a chance on the next iteration of the watch. But if for some reason they can actually have this huge amount, but people don't get satisfied, it will only actually continue to perpetuate that image that Apple stopped innovating after Steve Jobs.
So, at the meantime, you got the Pebble approach. Nice, slow, and steady. The Pebble smartwatch is now going to officially support Android Wear apps. That opens up I don't know, if there's limitations, because again, it's a black and white screen. I don't know if it's going to be able to. I don't know how that'll work so well, but that could open up the Pebble watch, which is a cross-platform watch. It's a Linux-based watch that works with iOS or Android, but now it's going to support Android Wear apps. That is, I think, really good news, and you're going to get this as a Pebble owner already. So that's kind of cool too. I guess they've been beta testing this since December, and I wasn't aware of it. But Pebble's integration actually supports the wider selection of Android devices, more than Android Wear itself. It has a version for 4 to 4.0 to 4.3 apps, so 4.0 to 4.3, which most are just limited to 4.3 apps, which is interesting. It says that 720,000 smartwatches are estimated to be sold, and so if there's apps, they're all built for it, and those are all Android Wears, and so if those are all going to run on the Pebble Watch now, I'm coming back to the Pebble Watch again, thinking to myself, this, after all, even though it's the one that's been on the market for a while, this might be the one I go with in 2015. I'm still willing to see some other contenders. I want to see another updated Android Wear one. I'd like to see how the reception to the Apple Watch is. So they have a video, so let's watch it. Let's see. TechCrunch has a video of like the notifications because you get all the Android Wear notifications on the Pebble. Let's see how it looks. All right, so they're doing like a tip calculator on the Android device, or they're requesting money. Oh, okay, they're requesting money, and they're setting up. Oh, it's on an iOS device. Never mind. Oh, okay. Okay. It actually, wow, it's actually surprisingly usable. So no touchscreen, but you can use just the buttons on the side of the watch. That is, oh wow, that worked really well. So yeah, that's totally usable. The apps were very responsive, and they were able to clear out notifications right there on the watch using. Oh, snaps, Pebble. Oh, snaps. That is really cool. Did you guys get to see that? Could you see that?
And I think that because the concept of the watch is actually quite a little less requirements on the hardware, it gives more room for design and to actually try to approach watch for people that actually like using watches. To the point that, yes, it builds that sensation. I'm having a watch. I like the watch. I get some extra functionality. It's not something naggy.
Yeah. Yeah, and
if you ask me, Pebble's setting the gold standard here in terms of because they were pretty much the first with the smartwatch, and I think when it comes to smartwatches, you can look at them as an example of what to do correctly.
Yeah, they got the battery life down too.
Exactly.
Yeah. Just a quick one. Might follow this one up in TechSnap as well. There's a flaw in Netgear Wi-Fi routers that is exposing the admin password. A number of Netgear home wireless routers sport a vulnerability that can be misused by unauthenticated attackers to obtain the administrator password, device serial number, and your wireless network details, and also devices that are connected details. This is according to network engineer Peter Atkins. The vulnerability is found and embedded in the device, which is it's the SOAP service, a service that interacts with the Netgear Genie application that allows users to control and change settings and things like that via their smartphone or computer. So if you have one of these Netgear routers that has the SOAP service so you can control the settings from like your smartphone, you might have this vulnerability. Surprise! A service that a vendor who's notoriously bad at making software shipped to allow you to remotely control your router has remote vulnerabilities. Shocker. Shocker. All right.
Well, it just goes to show you that, I don't know, it just seems like one of these vulnerabilities hits either Netgear or Cisco every month or so.
Yeah, I mean, if you can, it's probably best to rip out one of those things and build your own. Put a PF Sense box in or something.
DWRT.
That's right. That's right.
And the U.S. government was afraid of buying Huawei devices. Look at that.
Right. Very true. Hey, go get yourself a TechSnap shirt. We sold 189 of them, and we have until the 24th, so just 7 days left. TechSnap has just hit 200, and actually, we're now like at 201. And to celebrate, we got a brand spanking new logo, specially designed, crafted, and then refined by our production staff and, of course, myself, Angela, and Alan. And the first place we're rolling it out is right here on this shirt. I love the long sleeve shirt. We've also got a hoodie if it's cold where you're at. I know for some of you it is very cold. The hoodies are great. You can get them in dark gray or white. We got a ladies tee, and of course, we've got just the standard t-shirt as well. It's a really slick logo for TechSnap, the Systems Network and Administrator Podcast. Teespring.com/TechSnap. And last but not least, we're ramping up a few things here at the Jupiter Broadcasting Network. We've got scale coverage coming up. I guess, I might as well tell you, too. So this Sunday is a pre-recorded edition of the Linux Action Show. It's some best-of submissions and some retro look-back stuff with some random appearances by me. Because we're going to be all in at scale over the weekend. We'll still be live on Sunday over at the regular jblive.tv Sunday Linux Action Show time. And we'll be doing our in-studio coverage of the stuff from scale. You probably won't have all the interviews yet, but we'll have all of our on-location coverage stuff. And we'll be doing that on Sunday and then releasing a retro edition of Last on Sunday. And then next weekend, we're going to go all in on our scale coverage with clips from what we recorded on Sunday, plus our interviews from the floor. And so it's going to be a huge episode. The way we're doing some of that and more stuff that's coming up is thanks to your funding over at patreon.com/today. You'll notice this coverage doesn't have any sponsorships. And it, depending on the scale of this and how much funding we get here at Patreon, we may end up sponsoring our on-location coverage. We've definitely gotten plenty of offers. And right now we operate these on-location things at a loss, but we figure it benefits the show, so it's worth us investing the money. And the money that we do have to cover those expenses comes from our Patreon over at patreon.com/today. And they help make all of our shows better. So in the coming months, we'll be spending some of that on How To Linux and the scale coverage, and then Linux Fest Northwest coverage as that comes up. And that's sort of where that money will go, and some travel expenses that arise and all of that, and it's just so many random things that come up. And it's nice. It's nice to know that the community is helping us accomplish that. Patreon.com/today is how you can get involved if you get some value from any of our other shows or want to make sure this show continues on or the other productions on the network. And you also get access to some of our behind-the-scenes goodies. Patreon.com/today. So, guys, I wanted to go through some old tech clips that we haven't really watched for a while. Did we talk about the worm drive on this show before? Anybody remember the worm drive? I had to deal with the worm drive a lot towards the end of its lifespan, and it was going to be like the next coming in storage. I don't think you guys know what I'm talking about.
I don't think we did. No,
I wasn't following.
Oh, good. Well, guess what? We're going to go back to 1988. It's going to be a couple of minute ending clip, so it's going to make it a little bit of a longer show, but it'll be a history lesson of the worm drive. And when you're watching this, I want you to know, keep in mind, like when I saw this was my world. This is what at the bank that I worked for kept their super important long-term storage records on for backup. And the worm drive, as it turns out, had some reliability issues. That's why you probably haven't heard of it. So we'll leave you with this. It's a couple of minutes long, but man, it's a classic from the Computer Chronicles. Join me for the rest of the week, won't you? I do the show 9 a.m. Pacific, noon Eastern over at jblive.tv. Go to jupiterbroadcasting.com/calendar to get that converted to your local time zone. But please also contribute to that subreddit, techtalktoday.reddit.com. Kickstarters of the week as well, your snow pictures. Angela will be in studio, and I'd love to do a Kickstarter while she's here. And, you know what? We have one actually already. But you can submit one for the future. And join us tomorrow, and you can hang out in the Mumble Room and chat with Ange and myself. All right, I leave you with a history of the worm drive from the Computer Chronicles. It's a very quiet clip. I apologize. I'll see if I can boost it a little bit for you.
Enhance uses optical
There we
storage
go.
devices called worms. Tim, is that right?
Correct.
What does worm mean?
Means write once, read mostly.
I see.
However, we prefer to look at these as writable optical drives. Enhance started 4 years ago, recognizing the need of people to store a large amount of data, yet there was no cost-effective way of doing so.
And that's your cartridge there?
Absolutely. This cartridge has a capacity of 240 megabytes on a removable compact disc, soon to be available with over 1 gigabyte of capacity.
Great. And that's pretty durable?
Absolutely. You wouldn't want to do that with your hard disk or floppy or Bernoulli cartridge. I'll just slide it into the optical drive there, and that will effectively become your drive D. I have a quick program here that's going to show us a directory on the optical drive. As soon as it initiates the cartridge, we will go through this directory. You'll see that we have files and subdirectories just as we would on any other hard disk.
So it's to the user just like another hard drive here.
Except, Stuart, it looks like it breaks the 32 megabyte barrier. Is that true?
Correct. You can selectively set the partition size as the application you use needs.
And you people take care of that. I don't have to worry about it.
Absolutely.
Great.
What I've shown here is the check disk to show the 120 megabytes capacity per side of the cartridge. What I'm going to do now is copy some files from the hard disk to the optical disk to demonstrate the speed of the copy routine. And as you see, it uses a standard DOS copy command.
When it's doing that, Tim, it is using up space on the disk.
Correct.
And I can't use that space anymore once I've done that.
No, you can't.
Barry, before Tim continues here, who are the people who are using these kinds of things? Now, who needs this kind of massive storage capacity?
Well, many of our customers are collecting large amounts of data, handling data acquisition. They take data from the bottom of the sea, and they use the rugged optical disc instead of the magnetic discs out in the salt water, because the optical disc is something that will be around for a long time. Other ways is storing large amounts of text. Lawyers use it for litigation support, to put their depositions and their pleadings all on the optical disc, and they have a fast, efficient way, instead of thumbing through all that paper, to get to that information.
Typically, what kind of input devices do they use to get all that text onto the optical disc?
Well, some people use a video camera, like we're showing on an image here. Some people use desktop scanners, which are becoming
so
fairly
bitmap
popular.
scanning generally.
Yes.
And the disk with its space makes that quite easy to do, doesn't it?
Yes, because bitmap graphics take up a lot of space.
Tim,
as we all know.
what's the application you have here?
We're looking at an employee ID system. However, this could very easily be a signature verification system or anything else which combines images with database. Each image here is taking up about 120K of memory, and as you can see with this type of application, you're going to quickly use up a lot of capacity.
Now, if I were going to put one of these on my own system, let's say something like a compact or one of the other machines, how much would it cost me currently to do that?
Currently, the price is $1,599 for an internal system, as you see here.
What about erasable drives? I mean, how important is that? What more market would that open up now? I mean, that seems to be the next layer of technology here, not only to be able to write, but to erase. Is that important to you?
Well, I think we've been all been waiting for erasable technology to arrive for quite some time. I think that a writable optical disc addresses a specific market niche where the need to retain information is critical for either a professional or a legal reason, whereas erasable optical will tend to be more competitive with magnetic disk drives.
Yeah, I think a lot of people have thought of the write-once optical as being a transition product, but the longer we wait for the read-write optical, the more permanent this type of device appears to be.
Absolutely. We will shortly be introducing this drive on the Sun Microsystem computer and the Apple Mac, and later this year you'll start seeing jute boxes that will handle 5 1/4-inch disk cartridges.
Jute boxes, that is where you have a piece of mechanism?
You have a stackable mechanism, the ability to store basically over 100 gigabytes of information, which is readily accessible by mini or microcomputer.
Typically, on one of those jute boxes, how long would it take to change a cartridge?
Generally about 5 to 7 seconds.
Not bad.
Tim, Barry, thank you very much. It's pretty impressive.